Hello, Chinese takeaway. May I take your order, please? Yep. It'll be 15 to 20 minutes. Do you want to collect or delivery? Okay, great. See you then. 一份招牌炒麵，2份咕嚕雞，3份薯條，15至20分鐘嚟。What's the name of your local Chinese takeaway? Do you recognize that window? Your order goes in, your meal comes out. Have you ever wondered what goes on behind it? I can tell you, it's much more than cooking. Us in the Chinese takeaway community even have a name for it, Zhou Chop Suey, chop suey life. Now you're probably wondering, what's so different about the Chinese takeaway community to other Chinese migrants? Well, in the past, they used to come in swaths of almost entire villages and islands from the poorest parts of Hong Kong. Unlike the middle class who came to study engineering or medicine, chop suey people had little to no education because they lived below the poverty line. Their homes were fishing boats or shanty huts. In recent years, these migrants have shifted into a different population. This time, they're individual, unconnected families from various provinces in mainland China. Different languages, different geographies. The only thing these two groups share in common is their desire to escape from poverty. Talking about difference, when was the last time you felt out of place? For my parents' generation, they just turned a blind eye because their focus was on survival. But for the British-born Chinese like me, we couldn't ignore it. We just wanted to fit in, and I shouldn't need to tell you, it's been hard. As the only Chinese family in my hometown, Bucky, people told me for years that I don't fit in. Like, the entire assembly hall would stare and point at me, and when I started primary school, and then again in high school, people would shout racial slurs and pull their eyes up at me in the street. And even when boys fancied me, they never dared to ask me out because, well, I'm not white. As diverse as society has become today, truth be told, acceptance and integration are still not an automatic given. We know communities are far stronger and richer when people of all backgrounds are woven into the same social fabric. Showing understanding, positive curiosity, and making the minority feel included are ways for us to weave them in. For example, to understand chop suey life, you need to understand, first of all, the sacrifices we make, such as family quality time. Over 7 years, I can count on one hand the total number of times my parents came to see me for end-of-term school performances. Do you enjoy reading bedtime stories to your children? Often, business rush hours meant our parents couldn't put us kids to bed. My sister slept on kitchen shelves next to food containers, and I in the hallway sink next to the shop toilet, using our parents' winter coats for blankets. Takeaway kids, we sacrifice our social life, sometimes our childhood, and others our dreams. I mentor this teenager called Along, who's the oldest of 3 siblings. His parents come from Fujian in mainland China, and they depend on him for a lot of things. By the time he was 12, he learned to run the shop front, translate for his parents from their doctor's appointments to his own school reports, and he's the one that gets his brother and sister ready and takes them to school, all on top of his studies. His parents don't even care whether he does well at school because they expect him to take care of the takeaway and once they retire so that they can also make sure that their own hard work won't go to waste. But Lyly, I don't want to stay in Inverness forever, and I hate working weekends. Why can't I just hang out with my mates? Like all of us before him, he's torn between respecting his own filial responsibilities or forging his own path. It's no wonder takeaway kids struggle with their identity. Like every second-generation immigrant, there comes a time when you're faced with the question, who am I? When I was maybe 14, I was about to leave our takeaway. Suddenly, the school buses passed by. Without thinking, I crouched down to hide. When I got to school, a classmate comes up to me and says, "Hey, didn't I see you leaving your shop earlier?" No, I don't know what you're talking about. But my red cheeks gave me away. How could I admit my truth out loud? I was ashamed of being Chinese. I was ashamed that my parents owned a Chinese takeaway, a reminder that I'm different, and especially when owning one was seen as this rubbish, less professional job. I even resented my parents for being uneducated, illiterate. People would say, "Your parents have been here for so long, why can't they speak better English?" Desperate to fit in, I had forgotten to appreciate how much our parents have sacrificed. Why can't Chinese takeaway owners speak better English? Because many can't even read and write in their own native language, so to be able to speak in broken English is already a massive achievement. Learning English and blending in were never the top priorities when they came to this country. It's always been about giving us, their children, a better life. Beyond understanding, why not be curious about our language and culture too? We had this loyal customer of many years called Dougie, and he ordered the same thing every time, beef curry and chips. Dad, my baba, would write down the order, pass it to us in the kitchen, we make it, hand it over, and Doug would be on his way. Every Wednesday without fail. One Wednesday, Dougie comes in and says, "Fei zhai yu ga lei ao su tiu." Oof! Dad winces at those words. Dougie notices. "Did I say it right, Billy?" Very good, very good." Dad writes down the order, passes it to us in the kitchen, we make it, hand it over, and Dougie goes on his merry way, proud that he speaks perfect Cantonese. Next week, Dougie orders his food like that again. This time, Dad can't even look him in the eye. "You can say, 'Yap fan gale ao su tiu,' 1 portion of beef curry and chips." "Why, what did I say?" Dad translates, "Fat guy wants beef curry and chips." So, Dougie found out Dad's pet name for him. Just learning that one Cantonese phrase was Dougie's own way of making Dad feel at home because he wanted to feel part of our Chinese community too. Just like people made me feel that we didn't belong, Dougie and many others made my family and I feel that we do. Before heading off to high school, Mrs. Garden, my primary 7 teacher, gave our class one last pep talk. In it, she described this amazing group of people who sounded so unique and special. And we have one in our class. We looked around, curious, who could it be? Then she looked at me and said my name, second-generation immigrant. By educating our kids early on the importance of diversity and inclusion, we are building up the next generation to be more open, kind, and thoughtful. From a kid who had been called all sorts of names, I grew up to be one of the Bucky gang. Years ago, a friend even said to my best friend, Sean, "Hey, don't you think Lyly looks really Chinese?" Sean stares back at him. That's because she is Chinese. "Yeah, I know, but don't you think she looks even more Chinese than before?" All this to say is that I'm just as much as a Quine for Bucky as anybody else. There's a famous Bucky legend, but not many people know its story. A long time ago, a 16-year-old boy from a faraway land arrived on these shores with one small suitcase and one big mission: to make enough money for his mom and 4 sisters. He worked across the country, first as a kitchen help, then as a waiter. He survived on customer tips and food scraps. The boy grew up to be a man and got married. His wife and kids stayed with relatives as he continued to work across the country. He yearned to give them a better life, so he searched for a place to call home and be his own boss. He found it. The Hung Heng Chinese takeaway served customers across a 20-mile radius for over 40 years. The man got invited to join the Rotary Club. His kids did taekwondo, girl guiding, and volunteered at the local elderly care home. And he sponsored the annual Christmas lights where his shop sign shined just as brightly as alongside the local businesses. He closed Hang Heng 20 years ago, but the locals can't bear to throw the takeaway menu away, so they keep it in the cabinet drawers. They even come down to Aberdeen to spot the legend. They want to hear his famous greeting again. "Hello, my friend." This legend has a name. His name is Lyly Fong, my Baba. The permanent outpour of love from the Bucky people show they see our lives beyond our Chinese takeaway. They see us as more than just Chinese because they see us as one of them. My family and I were lucky, but not all Chinese families are. There are still loads of takeaway kids like Along who are struggling. As Chinese takeaways are dotted across towns and villages, Along doesn't get to meet other kids like him because his parents don't interact with other families. So he's left feeling like he doesn't fit in. As locals, we can change that by showing compassion and understanding through small actions that can make them feel at home. What's the name of your local Chinese takeaway? The next time you order your meal, I invite you to look beyond that window and into our lives. I invite you to weave the family into your community's social fabric, just like the way the Bucky people did for mine.